we're not going to get on the ABC World News Tonight. It's not going to happen. You may notice as you're flipping through those news channels how the commercials are for beer and pharmaceuticals and petrochemical companies. They know where their bread is buttered. ABC News is not going to be taking our ads no matter how much money we throw at them. So we've got to leverage definitely the internet, the virality of YouTube. I mean, there's so many... we're the creative people, and so there's no reason we can't leverage that and get that viral sort of nature of the internet going and working for us. Well, you try to Google marijuana and there's millions of sites that are going to come up, and a lot of them have a lot of good information for us. So that's one thing. The other thing I wanted to bring up too is about presenting our image and how we have to remember these reporters are only human too. They grew up under the same propaganda we grew up under, and they don't have the benefit of having heard these messages like we've heard them. My executive director, Madeline, just got interviewed by the Sunday Oregonian, and one of the first questions out of the reporter's mouth is, so, what's your stoner humor, Harold and Kumar or Cheech and Chong? Like, we're here to talk about...
Madeline, what was your answer?
My answer was neither.
You don't like Up in Smoke?
Well, I did when I was in the 70s. But no, I told her I thought it was a serious issue. And that's how I wanted to...
That's right. And so what I wanted to, the point I wanted to make about that is that we got to call them on their BS, like Dominic was talking about calling these reporters on their BS. We had when we did the Million Marijuana March in Portland, we all meet there at like 11 in the morning, and then we march at noon. Been doing it 9 years in a row, always on time, always on time. So the line that they have in the weekly, the Willamette Week, as the supporters of marijuana groggily gathered in the square, like there are little things like that, these little adjectives that they'll throw in, or there's always the pun, there's always the headline pun, their plans went up in smoke, Yeah, we've got to fight against that and write the letters into the editor and call them on that, just like all the other organizations do. So, you got your pro-life organization. If somebody, says something that's, uncharacteristic or defamatory toward their issue, they write about it. Senior citizens, if someone uses derogatory language toward them, AARP is writing about it. That's what we need to be doing here. Now, we have about 5 minutes here to wrap up, so I want to give each person here a closing statement, a chance for them. I guess we'll start on the end with Steve, and then we'll be over at the experts tent, too, if you'd like to talk to us some more.
God, I feel a little talked out, but maybe because I've been, standing in my booth trying to force people to buy my book. They're not that inclined to read. And maybe that's why, well, at least online, yes, and actually the book is doing well, and I want to thank everybody who might have bought a copy. It's actually the best-selling marijuana book out right now, Pot Culture, the A to Z Guide to Stoner Language and Life, on sale at booth 429. And interestingly, when you write a book, you spend a lot of time looking at your Amazon rankings, and it's the #1 dictionary on Amazon. It truly is. The Pot book is the #1. It's above every other dictionary, and all these are standard dictionaries, basically. Dictionaries, thesauruses. That's what I've been doing, and my next step is I'm going to start writing a book called The Ultimate Stoner Movie Guide about Up in Smoke and Harold and Kumar, and it'll be a lot deeper than that. A lot of people probably have been seeing some of the stories lately. There's been so much written about stoner movies because of Pineapple Express coming out and success that movie's having, and whatever the debate over, whether it's a good pot movie or negative, or either way, people are going to see it. And it's something that when I worked at High Times, I started focusing on. I created an award show called the Stony Awards, and it was focusing on marijuana in the movies, or drugs in the movies in general, and how to sort of celebrate that when the depictions are really good, and it really, it works. It's not negative. The portrayals are just right, and so that's what I'm going to be heading towards. I'm going to do a very in-depth book on drugs in the movies. So that's my next project. And in the meanwhile, I just keep working really hard. On the web. It's really the place to get your news. Go there first. Go to Celeb Stoner. Go to go to Stranger. Go to MPP. Go all the blog sites. Get RSS feeds. And instead of bookmarking, I really recommend RSS feeds. Get your feeds and work it through your My Yahoo, and then read that way. I don't buy paper anymore. I don't buy the New York Times. I haven't bought a Times in 3 years. I still like to get my one tabloid in the morning, the Daily News, because I still like the feel of the sports section and just reading front to back or back to front. But it's just because I'm a news junkie. So where do you get your news? This is the way it works for me. So I really recommend just dig into the web. It's where everything's happening. It's where everything's going to be. Newspapers are going away. They're not going to last forever. Magazines will stick around, I think, because they're so pretty. You just can't create a magazine like, they're trying, but you still can't present it on the web that way. And, the web is the future, so that's where you should get your news. Thanks for coming to Hempfest.
Steve Bloom from celebstoner.com. Check him out, celebstoner.com. Mason?
Well, we've covered so much. I guess generally I would just say that we need to, as a marijuana reform movement, recognize that the media does have a lot of the power, and we really need to crack that power and use it for our advantage. And I think it's fantastic to see new media that gives us some of the power. Folks like Steve and obviously Dominic has somehow managed to convince an alternative news weekly to let him spread his opinions on a number of things, which he certainly spread a lot of the stuff that we've done out in Colorado. So, but just be credible and be creative. I think that those are, as long as you're doing those two things, you're bound to generate some positive attention around this. One really good example is that some kid up in Alaska wrote "Bong Hits for Jesus" on a sheet and hung it out his window. And I mean, that, at the time seemed like a childish prank, but it turned into a Supreme Court case, and it's these little things that can lead to big changes. You never know what's going to happen, and so I encourage you to just be on the lookout for these little types of ways to get involved. If you hear there's a protest going on or a rally or an event like Hempfest, show up and be part of it, because you never know if that could be the beginning of everything changing.
That's right. Mason Tvert, saferchoice.org is the website, saferchoice.org. David?
Well, media exists to serve its readers, and you are the customer. And so, are you consuming media? Are you engaging media? It sounds cheesy, writing letters to the editor, checking citations, but actually just consuming, subscribing. We have a publication and websites, and our goal is to distribute news about freedom. And one of our key areas of coverage is on drug policy. And so for us, our objective is to reach more readers. That is the nature of media, and if you understand that all media is in that same position, then I think you'll take a different approach to it, rather than viewing it as a power center or as something that's against you. It's just another set of people trying to develop their own business and serve their own customers, and you are among those customers.
Thank you. David Nott from the Reason Foundation. Check him out, reason.org, is that right? And then Dominic?
All right, first off, I recommend you go buy a copy of Pot Culture, the A to Z Guide to Stoner Language and Life, in booth number 429. Number two, thanks to the folks at Heirloom Coffee back there. That coffee is freaking delicious. If it were any stronger, they'd ban it. It'd be outlawed like meth. What's that? You sell ad space for this TV? Yeah, absolutely I do. And I just want to say that, alternative news and alternative media is shaping mainstream media. Yeah. They talk about newspapers and the evening news on TV as being a dinosaur and a dying medium. It's not a dying medium, it's here to stay, but it's going to undergo a metamorphosis guided and directed by alternative news outlets and blogs and folks like us who are not beholden to petrochemical companies and pharmaceutical companies and beer companies. So there is hope. We're going to fly like a butterfly together. And last, I just want to thank our host, Russ Belville from Oregon Normal.
Thank you, Dominic. Dominic Holden, check him out in The Stranger, read all that. And I'm Radical Russ. Check me out at radicalruss.com, Normal Daily Audio Stash, stash.normal.org. And you've done the number one thing that we can do, and that is showing up and being the good hemp people that we are. Like you said, the biggest event of this, event this size and no major problems. That's the headline of the day. Thank you for the Marijuana in the Media panel. We appreciate it. Talk to you later.